Hello everyone, I'm Augustus the Animator. Welcome to this tutorial on how to do some stylized rain and snow in sort of a minimalist abstract look. That looks just like this. Super cute, right? So yeah, we'll just go over some simple stuff about how to make it. Nothing is too difficult in here, but it's always good to learn how to do stuff a different way in After Effects. All right, well, let's begin. We are going to do a new composition. I always design these to live on Instagram, so I do it like a square ratio. And I also sort of consider if I'm going to put in like a reel or not, which I may eventually. So I try to do 1920 by 1920 so that it'll fit like up or down or left or right or whatever if I do a reel. So we're going to do that. 30 frames a second is nice and smooth for me, and we'll do 30 seconds, that's fine. Okay. All right, we are going to start by just throwing on a background with a solid, and that's all good. Let's see, I kind of just did like a nice pastel because those are so in style right now. Color, so maybe we'll just go with something like that. Perfect. And I'm going to lock that so I don't move it around whenever I click everywhere. And we're going to start by making a cloud. So we'll hit the pen tool. I don't want to stroke on this. I am going to do a color that's just a little lighter than this, maybe like a little less saturated as well, because that's the palette that I'm going for. And I'm just going to do something not that crazy. I'm going to hold down Shift to make sure that line is nice and straight. Pull out that handle, maybe make a nice little bump. Click, and then do another little bump. Click there, that looks really good so far. And then another little bump, connect, and go back and fix all my wonderful mistakes. Let's see. And the first time I did this, I for sure looked up a reference for what a cloud looks like, even though I live on Earth and could just look in the sky. But sometimes you forget all the key characteristics that make a thing look like a thing. So, you know, there's no shame in looking up what a cloud looks like on Google. You just got to do that sometimes. Let's see. That almost looks like a cloud. We're just going to say that it does for now. Okay, perfect. And we'll, of course, name this cloud. Look at that. And then to make it pop a little bit more, I'm just going to duplicate it. And then, let's see, put that down under. And then make this a darker color than the background. So I'll go to the background for reference. Maybe just do something like that. And then let's just do cloud shadow. There's a bunch of different ways you can do a shadow or make an object pop, but I'm just going to do something super simple and move it a little left, a little down, and maybe something like that, just to make it pop from the background a little bit more. Yeah, I think I'm going to make that actually like a little, like a touch lighter, just to like make this very nice low contrast pastel sort of color. Bam, you have a cloud. Okay, so now we need to make some rain, because that's what clouds do, they rain. Okay, I am going to just make a little piece of ground, aka a line, the same color as the cloud background, just to keep a nice tight palette, and do something like that. Pretty crazy. Let's make that a little thicker so you can actually see it. I feel like, let's do like 15 maybe. I think that's fine. I'm going to move it down just a touch. Hit P to open my position. Click and drag on the Y to make it go down. Perfect. We'll name this ground. All right. that's probably just going to exist there, so I'm going to lock it so I don't accidentally click on it. And these guys are good for now, so I'll lock them as well. I'm going to make some rain. So we're going to use the same line thickness as the ground just for some consistency, and the same color as the shadows and the ground so far. So this is going to be done using trim paths, which is a really nice tool. You can make some really cool movements with lines, and it's a very simple, straightforward thing to do, and it's fun to experiment with. So let's do a raindrop. I'm just going to click, hold shift and click again, maybe do it like slightly above the ground, and look at that, you have a raindrop. I'm going to adjust that slightly. Let's do rain 1. And we're going to twirl down on that line, the shape layer. We're going to click on add, and there's tons of fun things in here to play around with. The best way to learn anything is just to click on it and see what it does. So we are going to add trim paths, twirl down these options, move this guy up a little bit, and we are going to just start by making keyframes able on start and end. And we're going to go, you know, over really not too many frames because it doesn't take that long for like rain to drop, you know. We'll start with a second, see how it goes, and just make 2 more keyframes just so we have them like some laid down. And you can then like navigate back and forth with these fun little buttons. So nothing has happened so far because we haven't altered any of these values. So right now it's saying that the start is at 0%, which is the beginning of the line, and the end of the line is still at 100%, which is the end of the line. So you have the whole range from 0 to 100. But we of course don't want that, we want it to fall. So we're going to start this out at, the end is going to be at 0, and as you can see as I drag, the line is going to go back up. So that way, now if we hit play, it's going to come down. And that doesn't look good yet, but it's gonna. So obviously when the rain falls, the other end needs to come down with it. So we're going to go to this end keyframe for start, or the last keyframe for the start property, and then crank that up all the way to 100. And as you can see, the end is going to come with it. And now I'm going to shift over these keyframes like 2 or 3, just so that, because if you didn't do that, these values would be exactly the same, and so there's no difference between these 2 values, and no part of your line is going to show up, and we don't want that. So I'm going to shift these over so that there is a difference in these values, so that like, what's 13% or something of the line is going to show up. So now, boom, look at that, we have a raindrop. So I want that to be like a little longer. Maybe something like that, but more importantly, actually what I'll do, take these 2 end keyframes, or the 2 keyframes on the right, wait for my computer to be not slow. Okay, that's nice, isn't it? Move these guys over, because I want the rain to be faster than that, because we all know rain doesn't look like that. Maybe even adjust these a little bit. Move this over. Okay, too fast. Oops. The thing I love about animation is that all you have to do is move stuff around until it looks good. Because we all kind of know what rain looks like. And so I kind of feel like anybody can do it. Let's see, maybe move these over. To move it over 1 keyframe, I'm going to hold down Alt and then hit right, the right arrow, because that way it's a little easier than maybe shifting it just a tiny amount with your mouse and then like having it not be accurate. So it's really nice to do that if you're moving within just like a few keyframes. That still seems a little too slow, so I'm going to Alt left that over. That's maybe like not too bad. Do that a little more. Okay, so we have a raindrop, almost. To make this look a little nicer and to add a little bit of, I guess, follow through, we're going to have a little splash down here because rain splashes when it hits the ground, as we all know. So I'm going to zoom in and just with my pen tool still activated, just do a little cute little splash that maybe looks something like that. Isn't that cute? Okay. And we'll call this right splash. Splash. And we are going to add another trim paths to this guy. So we'll twirl it down, click add, click trim paths, and let's see, I probably want this to start popping up as soon as the end of this guy hits the ground. So since that's where we're at in our timeline, that is where I want this whole thing to start. So I'm going to go over, oops, no I'm not. By holding down Command, ooh, that's not what I want. By holding down Command and hitting the right arrow, you can shift forward keyframe by keyframe, which again is nice if you only need to go like 5 rather than clicking and dragging and guessing, and if you want to be exact, it's really nice. So I'm going to do that and then make some more keyframes. Crank up start to 100 so that it eventually ends. Go over here, do that. And so it's just the same thing we did last time. Oh, well, no, it's not, is it? What have I done here? Oh, I need to offset it. So I'll shift this over, I don't know, 3 keyframes. Boom. We have a cute little splash, which I think is too slow. So I'm going to shift those over so the whole thing is shorter. All right. And you know what? I think even this raindrop is a little slow. So I'm going to do that. Boom. All right. And then even though the rain wouldn't really, or the splash would not occur until this hits the ground, sometimes animation isn't quite like real life, and so you kind of just like fudge it a little bit until you think it looks pleasing. And so that I think like looks okay. And so I'm going to move on. And it doesn't look like much right now, but once you kind of do many of these, it's going to look, I think, kind of nice. So let's see, I could repeat the same process for this splash, but I could also not do that because why would I want to do that? I already did it once. So I am going to, let's see, I'm going to move this anchor point by hitting the Y key so I can select this and move it rather than move this whole object. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to move it here, and it's snapping because my snapping option is on. And I am going to then duplicate this bad boy, hit V to go back to my normal cursor, name this left splash, perfect, and then just hit S for scale, unlink these guys, click on the X value, make that negative, and look at that, we have the left version of it. I'm sure there's like other ways to do that, but that seems like real easy to me, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to move it over so it's just on the other side, and we should have all the keyframes, which you can bring down by hitting U, the U key, which will just show right away any value that you have keyframes on, which is really nice. Okay, and look at that. We have a little splash. I'm going to hit N to adjust the work bar area, so that way when I just when I hit play, it's just going to repeat this area, so I can like watch it over and over and scrutinize and see all the mistakes that I made, so that I don't have to keep clicking and hitting spacebar and clicking and hitting spacebar. Okay, I think that looks not too bad. So why don't we? I think we can pre-comp this whole thing. But actually, no, we can't yet. Okay, so I'm going to select this, hit U, select this, hit U, just to clean up this area a little bit so I can just look at the properties that I'm dealing with. And since I want this rain to continue, I don't want it to rain one drop, I want it to rain a bunch of drops. So we're going to do a tiny bit of expressions here, but don't worry, it's not that scary. We are going to Alt or Option click on the little stopwatch to bring up the scary expressions box. We're going to enter because we want this to stay on there. We're just not going to mess with that. And we want this to just repeat over and over. So rather than copying and pasting these keyframes over and over and over and over, we are just going to have them loop, which is much smarter because if you ever need to adjust it a little bit, you don't have to recopy and paste, and it's just really messy. So to only have 2 keyframes to worry about versus like 60 is just a much, much cleaner workflow. So now that we are in our expressions box, we're going to click this little arrow button to bring up, it's a bunch of expressions that you don't need to memorize because they're just already here, which is wonderful. So we're going to go to property, and we're going to go to loop out duration. It's this bottom one here. We're going to click that, and that just makes it so these loop, and as soon as this one ends, this one starts. So there's no like gap in between the loop. It's just going to go over and over and over right away. So I think that is not, yeah, it's going to look really weird because I have not made yet this start loop. So we're going to do that, and I'm just going to actually copy and paste this. I'm going to click here, not mess with that guy, paste. And then I think it's still not going to look right because we need these values to sort of start and stop within the same time total. So what that means is that this value is going to start changing like right here, and it's not going to align with when this value starts to change. That might not really make any sense, but to avoid this problem, you just have to make a keyframe here for end, because that is when the last keyframe for start is. We'll go to start, and we're going to make a keyframe here, because that's when the first keyframe for end is. So now this whole cycle is going to exist within this cute little like box of time, and then repeat out evenly. So if I play it, it's going to look like it should. So we'll just play that, and it's just going to repeat over and over in like the way that you would expect it to. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this guy and paste it on all of the values that I'm trying to have repeat. So I'm going to do that for all of these. And if anybody knows a better way than to have to copy and paste this expression on all of these values, please let me know, because that seems like a thing that you wouldn't want to do. I certainly don't like to do it. But yeah, if anybody knows a smarter way to do that, please let me know. Leave it in the comments. I would love to know that. And so again, with these, I'm going to click the keyframes to have it exist within that little time box, if you will. So that way they start and end when they should. Oh, look at that. Okay, we're still seeing problems, but I promise I'll fix that in just a second. So I'm going to do that, go to this first keyframe, add that. Okay. And let's see. So what I'm going to do now, let me just select all of these, hit U so that all of that text goes away and it's a little cleaner. Crank this up a little. Okay, and so the same idea of sort of having it live within that cute little time box, I need to apply that same idea to like this whole raindrop, including the splash as a whole. So I'm going to go to, first I'm going to make this whole timeline a little bigger by hitting just the plus key. Look at that. And since these are starting and beginning, starting, ending, and then beginning again in a shorter time frame than this raindrop, they are just going crazy and not lining up with this. So what I'm going to do is add keyframes to the beginning of this whole cycle, so when the raindrop starts, right here for all these guys. And then I'm going to make sure also to add it at the end of this whole cycle. So that way this whole thing won't start until I want it to. It's going to start and end within, let's see, 18 frames. And everything is going to start and end in an 18 frame cycle rather than this being like a 6 frame cycle and this being 18. That's not good. So now if we click and play it, it does what we expect it to, or what we want it to. So we'll save that because I save every 4 seconds because I'm afraid of my computer crashing. And now I feel confident, and I never feel confident, that we can pre-comp this. So rather than doing this whole process again for like all these other raindrops, which would be completely terrible, we are going to select all of these. We're going to hit Shift Command C to do to pre-compose it, so it's all one object or layer essentially. We will call this raindrop. And now it's all compressed into one layer and it's just much cleaner. And since I know that that's how I want to keep it, I pre-comped it. But I can always, of course, double click on this and go back in and edit it. And so actually what I'm going to do, this is kind of just like another workflow thing. I'm going to go so I can see like most of this and click on this little region of interest button and then trace around the area that this happens in, because obviously this is much smaller than this whole 1920 square. So I'm going to drag this up just a little and then go into composition and trim comp to region of interest. And so now the composition is only this small, which is going to be just a lot less for my computer, my little tiny slow computer, to compute, especially when I go back into this composition and then I'm going to duplicate a bunch of these. And so now this is just a much smaller object. Even though that was empty space, it's still going to be a lot better for you to use. So this is obviously now misplaced. I'm going to go to like the first frame or so. Am I? Yes. So that way I can see where the top of this is. And since this is the same color, I can just kind of like, I'm going to turn off snapping. And then I can just kind of cheat and like do that so it looks like it's just coming out of it because I'm lazy. And then I'll kind of go so we can see where this end is, and that's perfect because I want a little bit of space just because this is all the same color and I think it looks nice. And so now, since if I'm going to go into this composition again, since these just loop out forever, so does this pre-comp. And so as long as this exists in the timeline, I'm going to hit play, and look at that. It's going to rain forever. How nice. Okay, so I don't want one raindrop. I want a bunch of them. I am just going to duplicate this. And let's see, I'll do that a few times. They're kind of nice when they're paired. So right now I'm just going to position them. So I'll move this guy over as well. We'll maybe put him there. Move this guy over. Sometimes it's weirdly difficult to make things look random, even though it is, because that looks like too symmetrical and like whatever. So enjoy the struggles of silly things like that. Okay, I'm going to try that. And this obviously doesn't look too random, but I need to mess with the timing of everything because I don't want it to just do that, because that's weird. So all I'm going to do is just shift to the start of these somewhat randomly. We'll kind of just do this so that they all start at a different time and then won't look like they're all totally synchronized because that's just weird. So let's see. And since this is all the areas where these aren't starting yet, I'm just going to go over here to the start of this first or the last one, hit the key B, as in a bumblebee, to make my work area start here now, and so I can just forget about all this messy part. Hit play, and now it kind of looks like rain. That is just fabulous. Okay, good. I was worried this wasn't going to turn out. I'm going to extend this over a little bit so it doesn't start and stop so fast. Okay, I think that looks like rain. I hope you do too. So now that we have rain, we are going to add a little bit of runoff just because I really like the way that like these lines look, and especially when they sort of like run off like this. It's kind of like a nice lush sort of animation, I guess. So using all the same principles and all the same ideas that we just did, I'm going to go to the beginning, see when this first drop sort of hits, and then go into my pen tool. I'm just going to hit the G key because shortcuts are everything. And then, let's see, I'll probably just start it right where it touches. So I'm just going to click there. I am going to go shift click so that the line goes straight that way. Well, I'm going to actually edit undo that. Shift click again, give myself a little bit of a handle, and then maybe try to do that. And then go down to the bottom here, shift click again, so it goes straight down. That's what water does. Great. And so now we have the whole path that we're going to want our runoff to do. We'll call this runoff 1. I'm going to twirl this down, hit add, do trim paths, and then since this is the point in time that I kind of want it to start, that's where we're going to leave our time cursor, twirl down, start, end, do all those fun things that we did before. And I'm just kind of guessing at time. You'll have to adjust, and that's the way of things. Let's do that. Do our end at 0. Offset these guys with my Alt right arrow. Bam! It looks perfect, right? Well, we all know that it doesn't. I'm going to extend these out because I think it's a little fast. Make this offset a little bit greater so that I can see more of my line. And now what I'm going to do to make this look a little bit more realistic than just like this weird constant speed line, I'm going to have it so that it looks like it picks up a little bit of speed as gravity happens, because gravity's a thing. So I'm going to go to the point in time where it's just about to go off the edge, so we'll say here. And since it's leading with the end property, I'm going to make a keyframe right there, and I'm going to hit F9, or like function F9 on a Mac, to make that easy ease and easy out. So make a keyframe there, and then I'm going to make that a smooth keyframe. Yeah, easy ease it. That's the word I'm looking for, easy ease. So you can right click on it and do this, but it's so much faster to do F9, so you should do that. And so now, I don't know if it'll look like it. Let's see. Move these over a little bit more. So now it kind of, actually I'm going to move these back because that was too slow. Let's hit N to make that my work area. It kind of seems like it stops before it gets to the edge, and then picks up speed as it falls because it's just starting to fall there, which I kind of like. I think it looks pretty nice. And I'm actually going to now go into the graph editor, click on that property, hit the little graph editor button, click on this guy, the two little wavy lines, to make it so that this scales correctly so you can actually see what you're looking at. And I'm actually also going to hit the tilde key to make this bigger because my screen is so small, and it's just so much better to know what you're looking at. So I'm going to bring this up a little so that this speed increase is constant, because that's like how physics work. And I don't want my rain to like slow down at all as it gets to the bottom. I just want it to constantly speed up until it's off the screen. So we're going to do that. I'm going to hit tilde again to make that look normal sized. And now I'm just going to check out how this looks. You know what? I think that looks fine, which is great. And so now I'm going to click this button to go back to my normal timeline, and I am going to add that looping property again. So I'm going to click on this arrow. Again, I alt-clicked on this guy, click on the arrow, go to property, do loop out duration, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm just going to copy that, maybe. Do the same to the start property, alt-click, leave that alone, do that. And then before I even look at it, I'm going to remember to go to the beginning of the whole cycle, make sure there's a keyframe there. Go to the end of the whole cycle, make sure there's a keyframe there. And extend this out to make sure my loop is happening. And it sure is, which is just great. And actually, let's see now. So what I'm actually going to want to do is, since if I go back in here and I remember that this whole cycle, where are you at, is 18 frames, as you can see here, I'm going to make sure that the whole cycle for this is also 18 frames. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to quickly cut off this end that I don't need by holding down Alt and hitting the left bracket, bam. And then I'm going to duplicate this, move this forward 18 frames in time. That's 18. I'm going to hit the left bracket, just the left bracket, to bring that to start there, rather than cutting it off. And so now, will this work? No, it sure won't. So what I'm going to do to make sure that this exists in an 18 frame cycle is I'm going to make each one of these a 36 frame cycle. This is so complicated now. So I'm going to go forward 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and make some keyframes right there. And then do the same thing here. And so now, Lord, I hope this works. It does. Thank goodness. So now what I've done, these have a longer cycle, but since I have 2 of them, they coincide well with the 18 frame cycle that we were working with for the raindrop. All right, okay. So that runoff, I'm not going to pre-comp this because I'm not going to duplicate a ton of this, I don't think. I wonder if I should even extend this out a little bit. Just kind of make this a little longer. Just because now we have even more breathing room. And I actually think I'm going to move these 2 keyframes because that's the point at which it kind of stops here, because I think it's rushing to that end a little bit. Move those forward so there's more breathing room. Yeah, I think that I like that a little bit better. Okay. I am going to, actually I'm going to pre-comp this because I just misspoke earlier. Let's do pre-comp, we'll name it runoff. And then I'm going to make this a different color, lavender, just so it's different from all of these guys. And then I'm going to duplicate it. And I am just going to hit S for scale and reverse this. And does that actually just work perfectly? Wow, it almost does. Shift it over just a touch. That was actually kind of lucky, which is great. And I'm going to adjust the time at which it starts, which is probably going to be here-ish. Oops. So that looks a little more accurate with this raindrop. And now we've got that happening. Okay, we're almost there, you guys. I am going to just add one more drop or 2 to the side so that it looks like there's a little bit more water coming down. And so all I'm going to do is go into my raindrop comp, click on the raindrop, or the rain, the long vertical one, copy that, go back into my other composition, and just paste it somewhere. That's perfect, that's right where I want it. Okay, and then I'm just going to move it down to maybe be here-ish. Very precise, as you can see. And then I don't want this to start until this starts to come off, so maybe I'll do like, maybe even like a little later than that, so that there's some variation. Shift this over. And that doesn't look at all like I want it to. Okay, I'm going to go into these keyframes, see what I would like to adjust. Let's see. Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to select, let's see, this keyframe, and we're going to have it start out slow rather than just shoot down like it's currently doing. Easy ease that by hitting F9, and then I'm going to easy ease this keyframe because this is where the start value actually starts to change. This is just that placeholder keyframe. Click on that, F9 to easy ease it, and then this looks not as bad, which is just great. Let me make sure this is like working for real. It sure is. Okay. So let's zoom out so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, that resolution is just perfect. If your computer ever won't snap back to like the full resolution, if you click and hold on the time cursor, it'll like adapt the resolution back. I don't know why, but that's just like a thing that happens with my computer. So that's pretty fun. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just wanting this extra runoff. Oops. Left. We'll duplicate him. And we'll just change that to right. And guess what? We're going to move it over to the right. Okay. That's just so fun. Okay. And we'll make sure that this starts later so that there's some variation and so there's like a constant stream. And so again, it's getting fuzzy. Click, hold, adaptive resolution, snaps back. Great. Hit play. Look at that. We have rain, you guys. Okay. I think I might even add, oops. Let's see, like one more to the left here, like another runoff. We'll have this start almost like, not a random interval, but just like a lot later. I'm going to hit the left bracket to have it start at where my time cursor is. I'm going to shift him over. Am I? Am I going to shift him over? Yes, I sure am. Okay. I'll actually make him like... Yeah, just so now it's like that stream of constant sort of like stream of water. And I'm going to adjust this a little, maybe actually switch these out so that it doesn't look like they're all just going in a row. Perfect. Okay, we have got some rain. Man, that cloud looks great, doesn't it? Okay, now we are going to make some snow. Okay, so I should name this a real thing. So instead of comp1 is not a thing. So comp2 is going to be rain. And we're going to duplicate that because there's lots of things we want to reuse. And I just hit Command D to duplicate. Do snow, because this is going to be snow. Double click on that. Make sure you're not still working in rain, because I do that all the time. And then we're going to delete the things we don't need, such as all the rain. We don't need any of these raindrops. We don't need the runoff. But now we still have the cloud and the ground, which is great. I'm going to unlock these bad boys. Let's see, start with the background color. Let's see. To bring up, there's no like fill option when you're on a solid, so I'm going to hit Command Y, and that'll bring up the solid settings in which I can go and switch the color. I did like a really super cute pink last time, so maybe do something like that. It's even like a little too saturated, I think. That looks kind of nice, I suppose. Does it? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Go into my cloud. Start with this as the base. go up here, make that quite a bit brighter, less saturated. Great. Cloud shadow, fill. Start with this as the base, go down here, that's a little dark. Okay, and then for the ground, I'm going to change that color, zoom in so I can get a good click, change that color to the cloud shadow, and look at that, we have a new palette with the same stuff that we didn't have to redo because that would have been no fun. I'm actually going to make this a little darker because I think it's kind of hard to see. Great, okay. So now, first I'm going to add just a little bit of snow that's just built up on the ground. It's going to be the same color as this. I don't want any stroke on it. And then I'm going to click over here, and I just kind of did a little soft like mound that wasn't quite symmetrical because that just gives a little bit of variation. So that's just like a little mound of snow. I'm actually like move that down a little. Looks like it's floating a little too much. All right. And my snow is a circle, very complex. I'm just gonna click and hold on this shape tool buttoned, go to ellipse, and then draw a circle. Just gonna click, hold shift so that it's a perfect circle, and we'll say like that size. I'm gonna hit Y so I can move the anchor point. We'll snap it to the middle just in case we need that to be a thing. It's always good to do that. And I'm going to move it, start it, oh gosh, unsnap because that's annoying in this case. Move it up here. And okay, because that's where we want my snow. We want our snow to start. I'm going to name this snowflake 1 because that's what it is. All right. And so for this, what I want it to do is have a nice soft little like do onto the ground because snow is gentle and fun and cute. And so, let's see, I am going to just hit P for position, make a keyframe / enable keyframes, go down, I don't know, we'll say like 2 seconds or so for this thing to happen. Just click, hold shift and drag and have it go down, and then look at that. And because these are all just the same color and everything, I can just like cheat and have it go into that shape and you'll never know that it doesn't actually disappear. Let's see. That looks like a good rate for snowfall. Wonderful. Okay, so actually I'm going to maybe make it a little slower so it's real gentle. Okay, so now what I want, since snow doesn't fall super straight like that, it kind of flutters around a little bit, I am going to right-click on position, separate dimensions, so now I have an X position and a Y position, and then what I would like to do, the X position keyframes aren't different, like I'm not changing those at all, so I can get rid of those, and since the Y position is all that's being affected right now, it still looks the way that it does, or the way that it did. What I'm going to do is, let's see, do another little bit of expression, but again, it's not too scary. Alt-click so that I can bring that down. I don't need that. Click on this. Looking for wiggle. Click on that guy. Oh no. You know what? That's too confusing for me because I don't know how to do expressions super well. So I'm going to I know how to do wiggle, and so I just learned from a tutorial, probably from Mograph. Shout out to him because I learned literally how to do everything I know from Mograph, so thank you so much, Matt. With wiggle, you just need the word wiggle, you need a parenthesis, and then you need a value, such as 1, comma, and then a value, and then a right bracket. And so one of these is the frequency at which it's going to wiggle, and then the other one is the intensity at which it's going to wiggle. And I can never remember which is which, so I'm going to add a 10 here. And That's just like not even working, you guys. Slash, I can't see it because it's not strong enough. Okay, perfect. So the one on the right is the intensity, or the amplitude, I guess, like how far in the x direction it's possible for this to wiggle. Just go kind of any value in between, or that's not greater than 10. And then the other one is going to be how often it does that. So that's like pretty jittery for me. I'm going to maybe do like 2. Maybe do a little more. This could actually be like, probably like 15. Maybe we'll try 3. You just mess around until it looks good. That looks kind of nice, doesn't it? I think it looks kind of nice. I might actually make it look nicer. Perfect. So now there's like a little bit of variation, and that just would have been a really messy thing to animate and have look random again if I did like a keyframe for each time that it moved a little left to right. So since I want it to just like consistently fall down with the X property and then have it wiggle in the, or excuse me, in the Y property and have it wiggle with X, this is just like a much smarter way to do it. All right, so now we are going to, let's see, does that loop? No, of course it doesn't. Alt-click, we're just going to leave that. Click on our little arrow, do property, and do the expression we know so well, loop out, duration. And then you can stack like 100 million expressions, so we're just going to leave that. And then add it to this guy as well. Oh wait, no, you don't need to do that, because wiggle is just going to wiggle until forever, which is what we want. So now, I believe, thank goodness, it is going to loop forever and ever and snow forever in the magical winter wonderland. Okay, let's just duplicate this a few times. We'll maybe do like 5. Let's see. Now what I do need to be careful of is, can I delete that? No, I can't. There has to be one keyframe in order for expressions to function, it would seem. So I'm going to make sure my cursor is aligned with the keyframe that I kind of put down randomly, and so that way when I adjust the X value, it's not going to like make another keyframe and shoot that way. We don't want that. So, but if you adjust it, if you just adjust this one keyframe, I can just change the position of these. Or maybe just do something like that. Maybe we'll do this. And again, that looks currently awful. I'm going to hit U to clean up my view here. And then these are all selected. I'm going to hit Alt left bracket to cut all of those into pieces. Just kidding, cut off that part that wasn't animating. And then I'm going to simply randomly adjust the start time of these so that it just looks a little bit more random and not so formulaic, I suppose. Let's see. Can my computer preview? Oh, it's trying. So yeah, that was, I think it looks like pretty nice and random and cute. And obviously you can do like a much more complex shape than a circle, but you know, I didn't. So this is actually like a little bit simpler than the rain. I think that looks like pretty good. So we're gonna leave it. Okay, and then for the piece I did, I just had like a little bit of, it was like a play between the snow from my wonderful homeland of Wisconsin versus the rain here in Seattle. And so I'm going to do a new composition, rain and snow. Everything else is the same. Hit enter. Let's see, bring the rain down into it, bring the snow into it, and then maybe like every 3 seconds or so, we'll just switch between them, because that's what I wanted to do with this. So let's see. There's like for sure a way that you can like sequence these guys out. And you know what? I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So we're just going to manually do this. I am sure that there's a better way to do it. than this. And often I do videos that just live on Instagram and that automatically loops everything. But it's good to have like a certain length there, because if it's like 2 or 3 seconds, it's not long enough to post. And life is all about posting to Instagram. So I like to render out maybe like a 10 or a second or so video. I'm going to hit N to make my work area there. And so now if we click and hold this to make it the resolution real, hit play, it's going to try to rain for a second. And then, super fun, it's going to switch over to snow. Oh my goodness, come on computer. Look at that. It's going to switch over to snow, and then just go back. Oh my goodness, it's rain, snow. And since these all loop out like indefinitely, I don't have to worry about like the timing of like when this is showing and when it's not. So, there you have it. You have rain and you have snow. I'm sure there's a ton of other weather patterns you could do. If there is anything that you guys want to see, or if you have any questions about how I did any of this and if I skipped over anything, please be easy on me. It was my first tutorial, and I think the next ones will be a lot more efficient and succinct. Leave a comment below, give me a like, give me a follow. That would be so much appreciated, and I'll see you guys next time.